Hello and welcome to Board Game Gumbo. Today we're unboxing Set a Watch Swords of the Coin. This is a 1 to 4 player cooperative game from Rock Manor Games. Plays in about an hour. So this is the expansion, as you can see, called Swords of the Coin. This is both an expansion to the base game as well as a standalone game. So you can add this to the base game if you already have Set a Watch, and if you don't have Set a Watch, you can play this just on its own. So if you want to go ahead and add this to the base game, it's going to add an additional 4 characters, as well as additional monsters and locations and things like that. And if you want to play with it standalone, then you'll have everything that you see here. So this is your camp. This is sort of one of the focuses of the game itself. So one of the things you can do on your turn is you're going to assign somebody to basically be in charge of the camp, and they have different camp actions that they can take. Here's our rule book here. It's pretty hefty, and this is not, in my opinion, not an overly complicated game. So we just have our adventurers. It explains how the different adventurers work, what all their little abilities mean. Your adventurers are going to have special powers as well as dice, and they can use those dice and special powers to essentially attack monsters. And then, of course, we've already looked at the camp board here, the different actions that are available there. And then you have this track, which is essentially tracking your thread. It's essentially a countdown. You have locations that you'll have a spot for, and then you'll have monster cards. So again, just explanation of the creature cards. Everything looks pretty laid out, pretty self-explanatory. I have played the base game, so I kind of have some knowledge of it already, but everything looks fairly simple and well laid out. Again, we get back here to the order of play. Here are our different characters: Bounty Hunter, Barbarian, Witch, and the Heretic. You have the Monk and the Artificer as well. And these are, I believe these are like scenarios. So if you want to play a particular way or a particular difficulty, they give you a way to set up the both the creature decks as well as the location decks to kind of get that level of play that you're looking for. Little FAQ here in the back, the glossary of all the terms, and then on the very back, sort of a little cheat sheet, just how the round phase goes. So we have our camp board here, which is going to track a lot of things, and then we have sort of this play mat here. And I believe this was an add-on. This isn't in the retail version, but this is essentially just where you're going to put the different monsters that you fight on a round. So you have little spots for each of their cards. We've got extra bags, cards, dice, and then some few extra components in here as well. Again, one of the nice things about this game is that the box is used in the game itself. So you've got your camp board here, but then you've got all your extra spots for your cards as well, which I think is kind of cool. So every character in this game has dice, and then they are also color coded. So whatever the red character is, I don't know offhand, is going to have the red dice. The Barbarian has the green dice. The Witch has the purple dice. And I don't know who blue is. And then finally we have the yellow dice, which you can see there's quite a few of them. This is the Monk. And one of the things that the Monk can do is he can upgrade his dice. So he's going to start with D6s, but he can eventually upgrade into D8s and also D10s. So that's kind of a little new mechanic that I don't believe was in the base game. We've got just a few little wooden pieces here. These are very nice. These are just little camp tokens, but they're nice little wooden, almost like laser engraved tokens. Those are really cool. And then we have our little flame token, and this will keep track of our camp itself, essentially how much time we have left in the camp. We got a few pieces of punchboard over here. So we have this little wheel, which is a countdown. It looks like the Artificer uses it. So we'll have to put that together. And then we have some punchboard here for money. Money is something that you will gain whenever you are put in charge of the camp, and then you can actually go and spend it. So you can buy items that can help you, it can help your allies, all different sort of things. The money is 1s and 3s, as you can see, and are double-sided. But we also do have the sort of upgrade here. This was an add-on, but they are some coins that you can use to replace those cardboard. Pretty nice little metal coins there. Again, that is an optional upgrade. If you just get the retail version, you're not going to get the metal coins. What else do we have here? We have our character boards. So here's all our new characters. So your character has spots for your dice, and then it's going to have spots for your ability cards. And then each character also has a special ability down here at the bottom, and it explains if they are ranged or melee characters. As you can see, the heretic is melee, and that's the character using the red dice, so he's using D6s. The bounty hunter is using, what is that, D8s, and as a range character, it looks like he uses trophies, which makes sense. He's a bounty hunter. He's collecting trophies. Barbarian uses D12s as a melee character. One thing I just kind of know from looking at the Kickstarter is that the Barbarian has to exhaust her abilities, which is kind of it's rough. That's why she has D12s. And then the Monk, again, the Monk's special ability is Meditate. It lets him upgrade a single die twice or 2 of your dice once, going from D6s to D8s into D10s. And then the Artificer. And then we have a card for the Merchant, which I believe is how you play the solo game. All right, the final few things we have here. We have 2 decks of cards. And then we actually have a little mini expansion, which I'll show to you as well. So these small cards are mostly going to be your character abilities, as well as kind of like the shop cards. So here's our abilities for our bounty hunter. And I'll go through these pretty quickly. If you want to read them, feel free to either pause or slow it down. But you can just kind of get a feel for the fact that each character plays a little bit differently. Here's the witch here. Or really, they play pretty drastically differently, especially they did in the base game. So between the characters available in this game and then the characters available in the base game, you got quite a few different choices in terms of characters that you can pick. So a lot of variability there. I guess the Artificer also uses the red dice. So you wouldn't be able to play like the Heretic. It looks like the Heretic and the Artificer and the Monk all use the red dice. So I'm guessing you can't play more than one of those 3 at a time. And then here's the gear that you can get. So again, you can earn money throughout the course of the game, mostly by being in charge of the camp, and then you can go and spend that money at the merchant, essentially, and get these items. Some of them are one-time use. They say discard. Some of them you exhaust. Some of them have passive abilities. So a lot of different, but also familiar types of items, right? So like holy water and acid vial. These are things that are pretty common in sort of the dungeon diver style universe that this game is in. Okay. And then we have our large cards, which for the most part is going to be our locations and then also our enemies. So we have here, these are familiars. This is part of the witch's setup. So the witch has a familiar, either a crow or a cat. And then we have the horde cards. So these are going to look pretty similar if you are familiar with the base game. You've got sort of your basic stats for your different characters, right? They each have a type. So the vampire is obviously undead. They have a certain number of health, certain number of defense that you got to get through. Some of them have reveal abilities. So whenever you deal them out, essentially, something will happen. Some of them have ongoing abilities. Some of them, it depends on, where they come out. If they come out in the first position, they have a special ability. If not, then they don't. But these monsters also slide down on this play track here. So you can see there's a couple repetitions here, but there's a lot of just unique cards. The art is good enough for me. I mean, I don't love it. It's good. This one's really good. That's a really cool illustration. But a lot of it is just sort of, pretty standard for me. And then we have the locations. So locations are the amount of fire you lose, essentially the amount of time you lose. And then also the amount of bad guys you're going to put out. And then they usually have some type of special ability on them as well. And the entire point of the game is to get through a certain number of these locations before you run out of camp light, or before your fire dies out. Again, a lot of this is going to be familiar to you if you've played the base game. So I'm just going through these pretty quick. If you do have the base game, these all just shuffle in. Again, in the rule book, there are sort of guided setups for particular difficulties. But if you just want to do it randomly, that's kind of how the game was designed in the first place. The scenarios are just sort of like an extra thing. So again, you would just shuffle all this in, as well as the monsters, you just shuffle all that into the base game components. So we have one final thing here that came with the Kickstarter, and this is just like a little mini expansion called the Outriders expansion. And judging from the size of the box, I'm going to assume it's new locations or new monsters or a combination of the two. See if I can get it open without ruining it. Okay. So new monsters, as you can see. The card quality on these, I kind of haven't remarked on it because it's pretty standard. They're a little nicer, not linen finish, but no complaints with the card quality whatsoever. And again, the artwork is sort of hit or miss for me. Like that just seems a little, I don't know, like washed out. There's not a lot of definition to him there. And then you get to something like this, and that's just really cool to me. So a little hit or miss, but overall, like I'm not complaining. I got no complaints about it. So again, just a deck of new monsters. And again, these would just shuffle into your horde deck, whether you have the expansion or the base game or both of them together or what have you. And so that's everything that comes in a copy of Set a Watch, the Swords of the Coin expansion from Rock Manor Games.